Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're back on Our Life Begins and Always with the Derek DLC. But before we get started, I want to talk about... Oh shit, what did I do? Do I stop now? Okay. Yeah, it's still recording, okay. Hit the wrong button, almost there. Alright, before we get started, I want to talk about. I'm still getting complaints on my comments about my Patreon. I think these are just people that just want to try to get something for less or free for me, as far as the uncensored videos goes. The last one even said that the recording I did was illegal, which is bull stuff. Okay, come on. There's been other YouTubers who have done recordings on the same thing, so you can't tell me that this is illegal. If they can do it, I can do it. All right, it's not illegal. All right, and FYI for your information, I was on the $5 tier for I think it's GB Patch is the creator of this game, JB Patch, I believe. I was on their $5 tier before I became a $10 tier member. And when I was on the $5 tier, I come to find out that if I wanted to receive the adult content from them, I would have to join the $10 tier. And that's what happened. I joined the $10 tier. So now these comments, these people comment, they're saying, no, it's $5 tier. You had, $5 tier, you can get the adult content. That's bull, because, like I said, I was on it before. I was on the $5 tier, and I didn't get no adult content. All right, I had to join the $10 tier to get the adult content. And what I am recording is legal. I've seen other YouTubers do it, so don't tell me it's illegal, okay? And FYI, I do these recordings to raise money for charity. It's not going into my pocket. I don't receive anything out of it, okay? It just goes directly to charity. I mean, for those of you who don't want to be part of that, you don't want to get in on that, that's up to you. That's fine, you know. But don't send these these complaints into my comment section. Okay. From now on, I've made a new rule. If I receive any more of these comments, then I'm going to report you to YouTube as being harassing, because that's what I look at. You're harassing me. You're trying to get me to bend down to giving you the recordings for free, or getting them for less, whatever. Getting for less, or getting them for free. Which I'm not going to do that. I'm trying to raise money for charity. That's why I do this. That's why I opened up the $9 tier and the $10 tier. Those two are set up for adult content. Again, if you guys don't like what I do, what I'm giving, what I'm offering, you have a choice of going to another channel. Go watch somebody else's channel. Go view somebody else's channel. Or, whatever. And the other thing is, most people that on YouTubers that recorded uncensored videos, they usually put them on the like a porn site like Pornhub or something like that. That's something you have to become a member of, and it's membership fees and all that, and which I can't afford. And I'm not going to do that. I'm trying to keep it to, because I'm on a budget, and like I said, I'm only doing this for charity. I don't see a penny of it. It just goes directly to charity. It doesn't come to me. It just goes directly to a charity that I choose from. Worthy charity, of course. Excuse me. So, like I said, if I see any more complaints on my comment section, I'm just going to report you, okay? Because I'm not going to take the harassment. I'm not going to take it. All right? And you guys are wrong for even doing that because you don't realize why I'm doing this. I'm doing this to raise funds for charity. Most of these YouTubers are in it for themselves. They're trying to get money from to support themselves and what they do, which is fine, and I'm not gonna complain about that. I'm not complaining about that. What you do what you gotta do. I'm doing it to raise funds for charity. Pure and simple. I don't see a penny of it. It just goes directly to a charity that I choose from. And that's it. So, with that in mind, I'm going to get started with this recording that I'm going to be doing for you guys. I hope you guys enjoy it. Let's see if we're still recording. Yes, we're still recording. All right. Let's get to the full screen. There we go. And we'll load. So our last view or moment we viewed was the soiree for the Derek DLC, and now we're on, and then the summer ended. So let's go. And I'm gonna go grab some water real quick, so I'll be right back. Oh yeah. There was no denying it. Today was the very last day of summer. Tomorrow you were heading to class. Okay. What do we choose here? Normally this is what I would think. I would be thinking. It's like, why can't we have a longer summer or whatever? I was never excited to go back to school, that's for sure. So, I'm just gonna go with this. It was a bummer. Summer had been so much fun. When you thought about going back to school, heck is well, my chair. There we go. All right, there we go. My keyboard out here too. All right. Summer had been so much fun. When you thought about going back to school, it was with a sense of loss. Soon you wouldn't be able to choose how your days were spent without the school bell telling you where to be and when. It was with a heavy heart that you chose your outfit for your final day of freedom. Life was going to be different. You had come to think of the summer vacation as the norm, but school sucked up the majority of the year, whereas the summer vacation was just respent in the middle. Is that respite? Yeah, respite in the middle. Okay. Sorry about that. So, rather than being different, it was kind of a return to the normal. What did your normal life really mean? You considered how fondly your moms talked about their summer vacations as kids. You dimly recognized that one year the pattern of school and summer itself would be over for good. It was hard to imagine. You'd gotten distracted. One arm still out of a sleeve, you pulled it through and put your mind back to the present. This season had brought about plenty of changes of its own, like Kara's visit, though that too was coming to an end today. Let's see. What do I choose here? I'm gonna go with this one. You were happy you'd finally gotten a chance to know her. She was interesting to be around. You liked how easy it was to talk to her. You finished dressing, which was good. Cove would be there any moment. You'd agreed to see his mom off together. Officially, the plan was that he would come over to bring you round to his house when she was ready to set off. But you both knew that you'd be hanging out for at least a little while beforehand. Kara's visit had troubled Cove when it first happened. It had been a sudden change, thanks to Mr. Holden's infamous tendency to surprise people. But once he was able to adjust, he'd been in plenty of good spirits with her around. It was a relief for everyone. The next thought that crossed your mind was, let's see. I'm gonna go with the first one. It would only be polite to get the door for Cove. You went downstairs to wait. You strolled down the stairs. Someone else might have been able to answer it, but he was your guest. It was only a few minutes later when the doorbell rang, as you'd chosen to stand beside it to wait for Cove. There was no delay in pulling it open. Cove was there, just as you expected. He smiled as he caught sight of you.
Hey.
Hey, Cove. Come on in. Once he'd stepped inside, you beckoned for him to follow you upstairs. Back up in your room, you sat down on your bed and waited for Cove to settle in as you knew he would. With other guests, you might have offered them a seat, but you and Cove were long past those tensive stages of friendship. Your room was familiar to him as his own. You watched as Cove sat down in your desk chair, his preferred spot. He rolled it up closer to the bed to make it easier to chat, twinkling at the angle so that he was facing you fully. Once happy with the position, he leaned in towards you, hands held in his lap. His actions weren't the ones of someone who planned on moving from his spot anytime soon, even though you had an appointment to keep together that day. When is your mom leaving?
Don't worry about it.
We've got some time. She's still got a shower and stuff before she goes. She didn't want me to keep hanging around while she was doing that. He lifted his head, his gaze drifted out through the window, and chuckled. I can't believe she's already leaving, just when I'm getting used to her being there every day. He leaned back in the chair. A wavering smile tickled his cheeks. Yeah, sure. He shook his head as if shaking off the topic like a dog whipping off water, following a dip in the sea. Cove perched an elbow on the chair's arm and propped his jaw against his curled hand. There was a natural ease of his movements, a familiarity from the echoes of all the times before when he'd sit in that same position. This was a really nice summer. I'm looking forward to the next. Cove still nestled cozily in his chair, smiled at your response. Chippy Cove. A sudden call from downstairs caught you both unaware. You nearly forgotten the world outside from your room. From the guilty look on his face, Cove had done the same. Just had a call from Cole's mom. Is ready to go. If you're quick, she might keep the mandated motherly smothering to a minimum. You doubted that, but it was nice that Mom and Miss Prince had their strange sense of humor. Oh, Priest? I think that's, yeah, okay. Your eyes and met Cove's. Wordlessly, you headed downstairs together. Each step on the way there was painfully slow, like he was trying to delay the inevitable. His whole body tense leaving the house, and Cove froze together before you both could cross the street.
Oh.
The doors open. Dad must be taking her stuff out. He swallowed hard. She's really gonna leave. I think this last one will be the good one to say. This isn't the last time you'll see her. I know. But I got used to having her here. Yeah. It was hard to think of a word where you didn't have both your moms living at home with you. So you couldn't even imagine how hurt Cove must have been feeling knowing his mom was leaving. You thought you saw his bottom lip quiver just before he turned his head away from you. We don't have to head over if you don't want to. No. It'll be worse if I miss her leaving. Okay. At that, some of the conflict wearing on his face eased a bit. Together you went across the street and inside his house, finding his parents in the living room, surrounded by his mom's packed things. Hey kids. Good timing. I just called the taxi.
Hi.
And hi, Chippy. So glad I get to see you today. It was fabulous getting to know you this summer. I finally got to put a face to the name I've heard so many times. She winked, and Cove pouted on cue over the teasing. I'm really happy I got to meet you two. Hopefully it won't be too long before we see each other again. Nodding, Kyra turned her attention back to her boys. She patted Cliff on the arm with a warm smile. Then she enveloped Cove in a crushing hug. Initially, Cove squirmed to break free from her grip, but his mom was unfazed and kept him locked in place. Heartbeats later, she gave in and hugged her back. He hugged her back tightly.
I'm so glad.
I'm so happy this trip was a success. Cliff looked like he was bursting with pride. Then Cove stiffened. Kyra loosened her hold on him enough to study his face, concerned. She spoke her next words in a whisper that had been meant just for her son. Excuse me.
What do you think?
Do you want to shelve it? Raising an eyebrow, Cliff watched them carefully. His smile began to falter.
What's wrong?
Cove sighed, and his gaze flickered over to you for a moment, and then just as quick as it was back to his parents.
It's okay.
It's all right.
Really?
Are you sure? I don't want to do it now. I can tell Dad later. Nervously, you watched the exchange with the growing suspicion that Cove didn't want to have that conversation while you were there. You wondered if you should offer to leave when Kyra gave Cove a pat on the head.
All right.
You can always call me if you want me to be part of the conversation, okay? I'll call. Thanks, Mom. Cliff looked baffled about what Kyra and Cove were referring to, but you watched as his shoulders slowly relaxed. You figured that he decided to wait for Cove to be ready to talk to him. And with Cliff's silence, things seemed to be stiffened for now. After that, it wasn't long before the taxi arrived, rolling up in front of the house. In clear view of the open door, Kyra stood up, smiling sadly.
Well,
That's my ride. Yeah. The matching reply got a chuckle out of Kyra as you all filed out of the house. Father and son went with Kyra's bags in hand. Once outside, you spotted your family waiting by the street. To your surprise, Derek was also with them. He stood uncomfortably and he waved as soon as you noticed him.
What's up?
Hey, Chippy. Hi, Cove. When did you get here? My dad dropped me off just a little bit ago. Thought I could visit one more time before school started.
Sorry.
You picked a busy time, sorry. Derek couldn't even look at Cove. He nervously kept rolling a pebble with his with the bottom of his shoe.
Sorry.
I wasn't even thinking that your mom would be leaving today. I'm sorry, dude. What? You're not interrupting anything. You're always welcome here. It would have been sad if I didn't get to say goodbye before leaving. Dirk came to hang out often, so it was inevitable that the two had met at some point this season. I think so too. It was apparent Derek would have preferred to have gotten there at a more opportune moment. He never liked seeming impolite, but their reassuring words soothed his worries. The tension he was holding in his body lessened, and he looked like he was feeling much better, feeling much more like himself. Bye, Derek. It was fun getting to know you. Bye, ma'am. Is there anything I can do to help?
Nah.
Don't worry yourself about over that. We're just about set. At that short amount of time, Cliff had gathered and packed the bags into the trunk. Kara took one last look at everyone inside. Alright, I don't want to keep the driver waiting. It's time to head out. The little crowd that had formed around started their choruses of farewells and well wishes traveling, but Kara still made no move to get into the taxi. She placed her attention on Cove. I'll call when I get to the airport and when I make it to Nevada. Also, you better call the moment you walk into the door at home. Otherwise, we'll be wondering all night if you got into trouble on the way there.
Can do.
I can do that. And could you call tomorrow too, so I can tell you how school went? Of course. I want to hear all about it. Kara put a hand on Cove's head and affectionately ruffled his hair one last time. She then let go, only to move onto squeezing his cheeks in her hands instead. Mom,
Cove.
I love you so much, baby. She was chuckling by the time she freed him and rounded things off with a small tap on the tip of her nose. Cove rubbed his face with a grin. Finally, she walked to the car while weaving and took her seat in the taxi. Cliff hooked an arm around Cove's shoulder and kept him close as it began to pull away. For a moment, Cove looked up at his dad and then wrapped an arm across his back.
Bye.
Bye, Mom. Bye, safe travel. Kara rolled down the window and struck her hand out of it. She waved again while blowing kisses at Cove and Cliff. See you again. before she was out of sight, you decided to wave goodbye. As the taxi headed down the road, you stuck your hand in the air to send her off. The cab turned down another road and completely disappeared from view. Cove let go of his dad and took a few steps out into the empty street, still looking in the direction his mom went. He smiled quietly, deep in thought. You got the impression Cove was feeling better than he was earlier. He was finally content with the way things were. You jumped a bit when your mom put a hand on your shoulder, pulling you away from your thoughts. She smiled when you looked at her. This was a great vacation, huh? Yeah. That's what I was hoping to hear. Cove walked back over to the group, still generally happy. Derek grinned at him welcomingly, and everyone else there smiled at him, even Elizabeth.
Well?
Ma clapped her hands together, bringing everyone's attention back to the present. It's almost lunchtime. I think I'll put something special together. Her eyes sparkled with the plan, and Mom smiled. I bet you could use some help with that. That'd be absolutely wonderful. Derek glanced between the two, his eyebrow furrowed. Is there something I could do? Your mom's exchanged a fond expression. Mom shook her head.
How sweet.
That's very sweet, Derek, but it's alright. It's not your job. Technically, your dad left you under Cliff's watch. You're meant to be taken care of by him, not doing chores for the neighbors. Mom laughed a little over her own joke. You watched Derek look away, discouraged.
It's okay.
I don't mind. He was a little bashful about it. You worried if Mom's joke had just reminded him that he wasn't initially meant to be invited to lunch. It was getting a little awkward. Mom grinned sympathetically. Her comment was meant to lighten the mood, not bring it down. Mom tried again to get things moving forward. Why don't you kids go have fun? You all can come back in about an hour. We'll make enough for everyone. Mom nodded agreement.
Sounds good.
Another stunning idea, Lonnie. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That sounds like a plan. Then I don't want to cramp your style. I've got some stuff to work on, so I can be out of your hair this afternoon. You should come by later too. No reason you should be the odd man out. Mom seemed amused as Cliff rubbed his neck nervously. He grinned a weirdly but pleased smile.
Thanks very much.
I appreciate the invite. He looked over at the assembled crowd with knowing glances. I can help too with as many people as you are feeding. That's going to be a lot of food. Didn't you hear what we told you, Derek? It wouldn't be fair to make you cook when we're the ones who are inviting you in. Mom raised an eyebrow when Cliff waved it off.
Come on.
Yeah, I insist. Derek would be missing time with his pals. This would be a break for me. I'm quite the chef. Mom and Mom exchanged further glances before Mom shrugged.
True.
An airtight argument. If you're sure, we'll be happy to have you, Chef Cliff. Cliff's grin widened and seemed more hyped when you'd expect him to be about helping with lunch. Cove shook his head, a fun smile on his face. Then all of us grown-up people will be heading inside. I assume the rest of you kiddos are staying out. Maybe not all of them. Ma tilted her head. A silent question for Elizabeth. Your sister thought for a moment.
All right.
I'll stay with the kids.
That's fantastic.
That's great. Girlfriend Mom smiled at her, while Derek and Cove didn't seem to appreciate her phrasing. But with the plan decided, all three parents waved and headed for your house. It was just you teenagers now. Elizabeth looked at you and the others, curious expression on her face.
So?
What now? You silently wondered if Elizabeth only stayed out with you to avoid getting roped into work. Then again, she could just generally want to hang out. You couldn't tell with your sister. Cole spoke up after no one else did to answer Elizabeth's question. Want to go to the shopping street? It's been a while, and I don't think there's a lot of other things we could agree on. Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
Sounds awesome to me. Unlike you guys, I haven't been there in 1,001 times. It's new to me. Let's do it. You strolled across the road as a group down to the beach, and then to the left. It took less than 15 minutes to arrive. The convenience Sunset Bird. As the four of you looked around at the familiar shops, trying to see if anything caught your attention this time. Derek was the most enthusiastic. He checked out every style with his eyes wide with wonder. Elizabeth and Cove were in good spirits as well. That's so cool. He ran over to a street magician who was currently doing a card trick for a group of enchanted tourists. Derek clapped when the magician showed a middle-aged man his card. Derek turned back to the group and with a curious gleam on his face. What does it take to perform here anyway? Do you have to ask somebody or do you just show up and start doing stuff? Who would you even ask? It's a public street. Hey, Miss Mayor, can I pull a router out of my hat? Please, Floppy is well behaved, I promise. Derek chuckled, his eyes searching up and down the scene.
Maybe?
Maybe there's a boss of the shopping street? No one does any of this around my neighborhood. It's just regular stores behind walls. It's different if someone wants a real store, but here I'm pretty sure people are just putting on their little shows whenever they want to do whatever. That's so neat. Would we be allowed to do something too? Cove laughed and Derek began almost vibrating with excitement. Elizabeth rolled her eyes. What would you do? Well, I don't know. What? Not yet. I mean, I just found out it's a possibility. You know. But there's gotta be something. We could. We know cool stuff. I'm sure if we think about it, we could plan a show that really get a crowd pumped. You thought it was a great idea and wanted to be part of it. I'm in. Woo.
Nice.
I know I could count on you. Now, we just need to act. It'll come to us. Right. With some amusement, the gang continued to pursue the stalls. Elizabeth found some earrings with a dangling belly misprinted globe that everyone laughed at. Cove picked out a blob as Iceland, but Derek thought it had to be Greenland.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is a world with what looks like 9 continents. I think we're both wrong. I think you're both wrong. You backed up Derek. I'm going with Derek. That's definitely a Greenland looking blob.
Thanks.
Oh, thanks, Chippy. Suddenly, Cove froze. You stared at him, then tried to see what caught his attention. When he saw a familiar face down the way, it all made sense. Between the crowds, this bright hair stood out like a neon bowl, a green bowl in a kitchen sink. It was Jeremy. Jeremy slowly drifted his eyes down the street, and his eyes widened. Mutual recognition. He definitely noticed you. Derek frowned, and Cove sighed. Neither of them were happy to see him again. Let's just wave at him. You waved at Jeremy. He did not wave back. Whatever. Elizabeth raised an eyebrow. Her gaze swept over Jeremy without a hint of a clue. Jeremy simply scuffled to himself and waddled deeper into the crowd of people. Derek relaxed and exhaled loudly. I'm glad he's not going to start anything. He peeked over at Elizabeth with a tiny smirk. See? That was the mean kid.
What?
Huh? She still didn't get it. The first summer day that hadn't made nearly as much of an impression on her as it did for Derek, but he smiled and waved it off. Just forgot about him? I already have. He laughed, and Cove smiled lightly. He seemed in much better mood now that Jeremy was gone. Your eyes wandered over to where Jeremy disappeared. You hadn't forgotten the day you met him either. He was only going to be in town for a vacation with his parents. He hated that glimpse was probably the last time you would ever see him. You mentioned the realization to everyone. Jeremy's probably gone for good now. It's time for him to go back to wherever he's from.
Yeah.
Yeah, guess we don't have to worry about that guy anymore. Derek kicked off a little rocket in the road. It clattered forward, then rolled under a stall. But I still think it's kind of sad Jeremy turned out to be, well, like he is. It would have been nice to make another friend. Cove shook his head. He was clearly not broken up over what might have been. Let's see. Maybe he'll become nicer in the future. Or not. Who knows? Elizabeth rolled her eyes at the strange farewell to the odd boy, not interested in the slightest. She clearly didn't understand his impact, and at this point, she didn't want to understand. You couldn't help but wonder, though, what would have happened if you would have interacted with Jeremy more. Jeremy was unlike anyone you had ever met before. You thought he was kind of pitiful. You and the group move on from the stall and from Jeremy. And I gotta use the bathroom, so I'll be right back, guys. Alright, sorry about that. I'm back. Excuse me. You and the group moved on from the stall and from Jeremy. It didn't take long for everyone to return to the joking. You all enjoyed what little time you had left. As Elizabeth mentioned, the hour was almost up. The little trip had flown by, and lunch must have been waiting for you now. Derek bounced on the balls of his feet.
Okay.
Come on, guys. Let's get going so we can eat. I'm starving. Phew. I've had enough walking around anyway. Cove stretched one of his arms lazily. Let's go then. He looked at him appraisingly. Let's see, I did this in Cove's when we were going for clothes, so we're not going to ask him for a piggyback this time. I mean, he's our friend, but we're not like boyfriend. At this point, we're going for Derek. At this point, you nodded at him. Then you followed Elizabeth as she took it upon herself to lead the way home. She walked fast, much faster than Derek preferred. She kept gaining a lead. Then Derek would jog back up to the group. With Cole's long legs, he had no trouble keeping up. You stayed with Derek. You gave Derek some company. which made him brighten up considerably. He brightened up his idea of trying to make up performance again, and you listened to his plans. For the most part, you could tell he was being silly on purpose, but there was a shine in his eyes. You both got so engrossed in conversation that you didn't notice how far you'd fallen behind your sister until Cove looked over his shoulder and shouted something. Derek grinned at you and then tried to make it a race to catch up with Elizabeth. It was a pleasant walk home, and in no time you had made it back. Derek got the front door and held it open for everyone as you each moseyed inside. The three parents were still in the kitchen. They looked up and waved. Welcome home. Welcome back, everyone. You made it just in time.
Hey!
I hope you're hungry. So, did everyone have a nice time out? She gestured for people to take a seat at the table. Plates and silverware have already been placed out. You took your normal seat. Elizabeth sat across from you. Derek took the seat next seat to your left. Cove sat on your right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we had a great time. It was fine. It was nice. Yeah, I'm gonna just be joking about it. Jokingly about it. Yeah, the bank heist went off without a heist hitch. Excuse me. Your joke got some chuckles going around the table. That's good in my book. Casually, Mr. Holden sat in the empty seat across from Cove. He smiled at you and all the other kids. Mom sat down, a platter full of water grasses on the table. She looked down at the gathering. It's a good thing we have 8 chairs. I can't remember the last time we've had a group this big over for our meal. Can you pass the drinks down to the other side? Make sure you all got one. Sure. Those close to the cups obligated and started offering waters around. As everything got set up, Ma shielded Elizabeth and took her elbows off the table.
Now,
And you shouldn't slouch. She pointed to Mr. Holden, who was leaning forward with both arms on the table. Oops. Mr. Holden seemed unsure about all the sudden attention and carefully rearranged his posture to something suitable for a fancy dinner. He smiled sheepishly at Ma. Elizabeth rolled her eyes and Ma gave a level look at her. You shouldn't be impolite to a guest in the house either. Elizabeth groaned, long suffering. Ma giggled and Mr. Holden chuckled.
Not bad.
The lot of you could learn a thing or two from Derek. He has the best manners here. Derek blushed, but it was true. His posture was upright and formal. He even held his fork gracefully. His table manners, on top of all his attempts, your parents made him the model of meal attendee behavior.
Aw.
It's nothing. It's true though. You have been a lovely guest. I've noticed that too. It's always nice when you stay over, Derek. Derek smiled and sat a little taller in his chair. And do you have anything good to say about our other guests? She looked deliberately at Cove with a teasing smirk. Or is there something to say? Well, Cove is my number one, but he does still clean his hands by wiping them on his pants. Cove frowned at that and absentmindedly brushed his hands on his pant legs. Your mom's laughed lightly.
There.
Elizabeth, you should know after all these years, Cove is hardly a guest anymore. Cove smiled awkwardly. Thanks. You complimented Derek on his politeness. It's cool how you know all those manner things. Oh, thank you. He seemed more embarrassed by getting a compliment from a kid his age. Everyone ate their meal together and continued to hang out for the afternoon. After the food, you and the others played a couple games and talked about plans for the upcoming year. The time passed by quickly, and soon it was time to part ways. Mr. Holden talked to your moms, and Cove drifted over to you, knowing that as soon as his dad finished up, he would be leaving. It'd be cool to stay, but we have some stuff to do before everything closes today.
Okay.
Yeah, bye. Could you move? I need the phone. Rude, Elizabeth. Kinda rude. Cove raised an eyebrow, and Elizabeth apparently gestured behind him. Cove realized he was standing right in front of where the receiver was placed. Let's see. Okay, yeah. We're good. He sidestepped out of the way and shook his head. Hurry thinking Elizabeth was rushing too much. Your sister made a beeline for the phone and started dialing the number of what you figured was one of her friends. Knowing Elizabeth, she was going to be on there for a while. You and Cove and Derek shuffled closer to the door and seemed like Mr. Holden was wrapping up his conversation, so everyone started saying their various farewells.
Talk to you later.
See you later, Cove. We gotta do this again sometime. Yeah, see you. Cove turned to you and smiled slightly. Bye, Chippy. Yeah, we'll just give him a hug. You hug Cove goodbye. You step forward and spread your arms wide. Cove only had a moment to react before you encircled him in your arms. Cove hugged you back and broke the hug after a few seconds. He nodded at you and grinned.
Dude.
Seriously, dude. You have to hang out. We'll have to hang out later. I'm gonna miss you during school. He offered Cove a high five and the two boys clapped their hands together. Cove and his dad had left soon after that. Your parents started cleaning up the house and Elizabeth was still chatting to her friends on the phone. It was just you and Derek left. He elected to stay outside in front of the house and to wait for his dad to pick him up. You decided to keep your guest company, although he was originally Cove's visitor. A light summer breeze blew through your hair, and Derek shifted his weight from foot to foot. Thanks for waiting with me. He kicked at the ground distractedly.
Well,
Dad's still gonna be a while, so do you wanna go for a walk? Sure, I don't mind. The two of you walked down the street again, just wondering, without distinction planned, destination planned. Excuse me. It was quite a stroll, too quiet for Derek to being the company. You turned to him when you had noticed that he wasn't saying a word. That was unusual. Derek always had something he could chat about. You weren't sure if you should ask about it. Somehow you ended up at the old park near the beach. You glanced over to Derek once more, still expecting him to say something any second now. However, nothing came from him. In fact, now you noticed a frown creeping on his face. Derek smiled when he realized you were watching him. At least his mouth was turned up. There wasn't anything that really felt happy in the expression. He turned away and the smile fell off his face. His eyes started intently intently at the ground, and you raised an eyebrow. If you want to talk about something, I'm here. I'm a little sad. It's just with school starting back up again, it's going to be harder to visit. I'm going to have homework and clubs and practices and everything else.
This sucks.
It really sucks. We go to different schools. His face scrawled up and his fists were closed tightly together. This was really concerning him. What if we don't have to? What if we don't have time? You channeled some optimism into the conversation. We'll make time. We can talk over the phone and have plans for weekends. It'll be okay. Derek looked up the sky. It was orange and purple with little wisp of clouds scattered around. A plane flew high with a jet stream trailing behind it. Then he turned to the ground again. Derek's face was tilted far enough down that it was harder to read his expression. Hey, Chippy, I actually wanted to talk to you about something, if you don't mind. There was a pause, and you waited for him to finish his thought.
Sorry.
I was just kind of wondering, do you like guys at all? Like you ever wanted to be with someone who was a boy? Sorry if that's weird to ask. I could be with a guy. Okay then. He hesitated before finishing his question.
So,
what I mean is, just is there any guy you think it is kind of cool that you like around here? Not school or anything like that? He ducked his head further. You thought about it. I like you. Derek's eyes widened for a moment. You wondered if his heart had stopped because he stood there, completely frozen. Then, quietly, almost breathlessly, he asked a question.
really?
Maybe you don't really get what I'm asking about. He mumbled to himself for a while. So Derek pulled himself together somewhat meekly. He looked at you while he tried to project confidence. His posture was too tight for you to believe it. He was nervous.
All right.
You know, thinking ahead and everything is important. You've got to get yourself a game plan and all that. It's good to make plans, especially backup plans. He babbled, all full of energy and forced gusto. Well, always I heard about this this thing where people make pacts with their good friends that if they don't find anyone else, then they get together. Together, like they got married and stuff. So I was thinking, since it's good to have plans, it might be cool if we did something like that. His eyes widened, and he started to make frantic hand gestures. Just, then when you never had to worry about the future or finding someone, you can set it like a whole decade in the future, forever from now. Oh, sorry guys, I gotta do something and I'll be right back. back. Sorry about that. Just, then we'd have nothing to worry about the future or finding someone. We can set like a whole decade in the future, forever from now. We'd have graduated high school and probably college too. We'd have jobs and be really grown up. I mean, we'd probably have our own places and maybe our own pets and student loans and cars. Derek babbled on for a while more. It was as if all words he had held in silence during your walk had burst out now, all at once. So yeah, what do you think? I'm gonna go with this one. Why can't we be each other's first choice? He had to pause, despite to find a way to explain himself. It's a big decision. You don't have to think about that kind of thing right now. It's better to worry about it all that later, when we're grown up. That's why it's a good idea to have a plan, And well, honestly, I think you and me would work out the best for it. So, I'm gonna go with this one. It's a deal.
Really?
Really? Awesome. Derek brightened significantly and started to bounce silently on the balls of his feet.
Okay.
Okay, then let's do it. How do you take a picture of this? Not sure. Let's see. Is it Alt S? I guess I got it. He held it in his hand, offering it a shake. Officially, he repeated the terms of the deal. In 10 years, I, Derek Soares, am in 10 years, I, Derek Sarahs, am still single. And if in 10 years you, Chippy Prince, are still single, we both agree that the two of us will get together. And I'm going to give him a kiss, yes. You kissed him on the lips. You passed right by his outstretched arms and placed a slight kiss against his smiling mouth. That was cute. Let's try that again. Let's try to get this picture. Alt S. There we go. I think they got it. When you parted, Derek gasped and slapped the hand against his chest. Oh, that works too. It's cute. Yeah, gotta admit that it is cute.
It's a deal.
Alright, thanks. I feel better about the future already. Now let's get another picture. There we go. He laughed and scratched the back of his head. You could tell he was giddy about this, and you felt happy too. I'm gonna go with this one. Glad to hear it, fiance, sort of. Glad to say it, kind of, fiance. You didn't spend much longer at the park after that. Derek didn't want to miss his dad, so you both made your way back to your street. Derek's steps forward seemed lighter than before. After Derek went back home, you decided to settle in for the night. Stretching your arms over your head, you noticed that the living room and the phone were free. Should we call Lee? Let's talk to Lee. You picked up the receiver and quickly punched in the familiar number while going to take a seat on the couch. Soon enough, after planning the situation to the housekeeper, Lee answered.
Hey!
Hi Lee, can you talk? Definitely. We practically have to. My gosh, can you believe it? It's almost time for school to start. What happened to our summer? School starts first thing tomorrow for me.
Boo!
And I thought starting next week was bad enough. Enjoyed it last week. Oh, I will. I hope you'll survive your first day. Me too. I need a good year. Ditto. And at least summer was nice while it lasted, right? We were busy. Yeah. Finally, you thought about all the best memories you made this summer. Lee was there for some, but there was still many you hadn't filled in her in on yet. You reminisce about a moment of your summer. You begin to speak about the soiree at the country club. I went to a soiree at my mom's country club. There was lots of food, dancing, and people dressed up formally.
Cool.
Oh, I've been to one of those. They're cool, but how did it go for you? Derek was my date. No way. You asked him on a date? Like a date? Yeah. Oh. That's unusual. That's unreal, Chippy. After laughing a bit, you dove into telling Lee everything about your night with Derek. You enjoyed sharing that moment with her. What was your highest highlight of the summer, Lee? Talking to you is always the best part of my summer. Even though it was a phone call, you just knew that Lee was winking at you. You laughed. All right. Okay. So a high point for me was when I took that trip with my parents to Europe. That was amazing. You and Lee continued to go over your adventures until you both were yawning to each other over the phone. At that, you decided it was time to say goodbye. For now, you did have school to wake up for in the morning. Bye, Lee.
Bye.
Night, Chippy. Talk to you later. You left the phone on the side table for now. Looking at the clock on the wall, you saw that there was only about 10 minutes until your mom's would be insisting you had to go to bed so you could be rested enough for school. You stretched your legs out on the couch and sighed in defeat, watching the minute hand change 1 minute closer to bedtime. You rearranged yourself, feeling restless. You looked out the window and startled initially. You spotted a figure out in the hills. It was Cove. When the surprise faded, you realized it wasn't that much of a shock at all. It was exactly something Cove would do. You went outside to meet up with him. Yeah, why not? I mean, we're just friends. We're not like, Strolling casually, you went over to the front door. When you arrived, you noticed how many fireflies were out that night. They drifted along lazily, barely minding your presence as you waded through to reach the top of the hill. Cove turned towards you as you approached, and you noticed right away that Cove looked happy to see you. Hey. You had a bounce in your step. You weren't sure how long you get there before your mom's roped you back inside for bed. Hey, what are you doing out here?
Nothing.
Nothing, not really. He shrugged, seeming unhappy with his own answer. You stared at him, waiting for him to continue. Well, I guess I was kind of weird about stuff. So I'm getting some fresh air before bed. I know how you feel. It's hard to stay still. Tomorrow is going to be the start of a new year. At the mention of a school, a small noise escaped him. Cove let himself fall back onto his butt, then all the way down. He was laying on his back. He looked up at the sky. You sat in the grass. You lowered yourself to sit nearby. He had been lost in thought, or was possibly waiting for you to situate yourself, but he started speaking unprompted again.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry for being kind of awkward when my mom was leaving. Surprised you stared at him a moment. You weren't expecting that. I just wanted you to know that I talked to my dad about how I felt, and things is okay now. It's okay now. You were genuinely glad to hear that. It brought a smile to your face, but your thoughts quickly went back to the first day you met Mr. Holden. Did his dad confess about that? From the way Cove talked, you guess he had. So there was more Cove and his dad had should talk about, but it was a relief to know that they had made a start. Now was not a good time to bring up what you were thinking, though. You could wait longer to say it. It was almost unbelievable how much of an impact he made on your life just by moving in next door. You couldn't even imagine what your days might have looked like in a world where you hadn't met him. Cove glanced back at you, waiting for a response, and you had no idea what to say. Cove just stared at you unblinkingly. I can't pronounce that word. What? It's you. Huh? He snickered before answering. He looked thoroughly amused with your reaction. That's what you do all the time. So I'm being you. So do you, Cove. Really? Yes, always. Cove couldn't help but grin at that. Honestly, there weren't many people you could think who could tease you about something like that. Returning his smile, you realized there was no denying that you two have been around each other for a long time. Cove broke the quiet before it could fully settle.
See you tomorrow.
Hey, I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah, see you then. With a final wave, Cove headed for home, but you stayed there a few minutes longer. Your mind kept going back to his simple statement, see you tomorrow. No matter how much was changing around you, there was some things in your life that always seemed to remain true. The hills felt warm to you that night. Before you knew it, you were getting comfortable under the covers in your room. Your mind couldn't help but still be buzzing with thoughts about the future. You felt unsure. Yeah, you can't be sure of the future. You don't know until things happen, really. A new chapter of your life was about to begin, and no one could say what it was going to be like. Slowly your eyes grew heavy as you drifted off to sleep, your mind spinning with wishful thoughts. No matter what happened next, you could only hope that you would make the most of it. You were ensured in a dream when a noise from outside the world jolted you. Your eyes snapped open. The light clutter continued now that you were more alert. You could distinguish that it was a tapping sound, quiet, slow, but persistent. Each beat was like being poked. You couldn't ignore it. You lifted your head from the pillow and looked for the source. Not much work was needed to puzzle it out. It was from the window. With that, you knew exactly what it was. From the color of the light filtering in your room, it was too early for anyone to be awake, including the sun. It had barely halted itself over the horizon, but that didn't stop some people, it seemed. You sat up in bed, opened the window wide. Cool air, not yet warmed by the day, tickled your face as it pushed into your room. And just as you'd expected, there was your neighbor crouching on your windowsill. He was fully dressed, though not for school. He was wearing a wetsuit and a fond smile. Hi, Chippy. You stared back blinkingly. Blinking. So technically we don't have to be back in school for a few hours. A few more hours. His voice was delicate yet deliberate. Each word a careful explanation. Classes haven't actually started yet, so do you want to hit the beach with me one more time this summer? Here we go again. Your comment was half-hearted, and you knew it. Only Cove could think of something like this, and that was the part of what made him special to you. Cove chuckled conspirately, his smile widening. You rushed to get changed into something suitable while Cove climbed back down to the ground level. Your limbs, still half asleep, struggled somewhat as you attempted to coordinate them into a swimsuit, but you got there in the end. Soon you were tiptoeing out of the front door, crouching, clutching a towel. Cove was already there to greet you. Your eyes met. Cove's gaze darted to your destination and back to you. You checked the door was the door was closed. You gave him a thumbs up, and the two of you leaped into action. Wordlessly, you began to run down the familiar path ahead, Cove beside you. The thrill of your unsolicited outing made you want to laugh. Not that you dared. If anyone in your family looked out and saw you, then your summer would be back to being over. One glance at Clove told you that he was exactly the same, holding back snickers for fear of being heard and caught. The towels streamed out from under your arm like a cape. You were running so fast downhill that simply keeping your balance and not tumbling down was a real treat. It just wasn't enough of one to make you slow your pace. For every step you took, the beach was a little closer, and the day a little brighter. What lay ahead for you would arrive, and you were happy to meet it. In between. Okay, this is, I think, where we have to redo our character, or just leave it the same, which I'm going to do, leave it the same. feelings to Cove are still the same, relaxed and fun. That means we're just friends. So we're ready. Cove's constant relation. I'm gonna say neither. I'm gonna get past all this because that's a lot to read. Ah, there we go. And I think this is in regards to Derek. So let's see. Derek wasn't around nearly as much, to his great dismay with school itself and after school activities. There wasn't many opportunities for him to take a trip out to your neighborhood, especially because he was always at some training camp or on a new regimen with a strict schedule. The two of you were usually stuck with merely telling each other about what was happening in your lives instead of sharing your days in the same place. But he was always good to anticipating things and being prepared for them. Derek knew he wouldn't be able to be with you that much going forward. That was probably the reason he pushed any notion of the two of you linking each other as only a concept for the way in the future, when you were adults and had taxes. It was at least one of the reasons he never fully accepted it. You were sure but you still kept in touch over the phone as best as you could. Yeah. Let's see. We don't need to talk about Jeremy. Lift from Dick here. Yeah. All this stuff. And we got a new achievement. Fully grown friendship. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave it there because that was a long moment. I'm gonna go ahead and save right here. Save it right there. So in the meantime, thanks again for watching on my YouTube channel. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And don't forget to check out my Patreon, and please become a Patreon contributing member. It would mean so much to me and the community of charities that need the funds. And you can find the link to my Patreon within the description area just below the video. So in the meantime, I will see you guys later. There we go.